a story that's believable or do you want the truth? What's going on? How much does our government know? And when did they know it?
You were the interface between the government or the military and alien visitors. Would that be correct?
That'd be correct. There's a price to pay when you start talking. And I don't want to go into that too much because when you start reliving it, okay?
I see.
You have no idea what I'm seeing in my mind right now just talking about the tip of the iceberg. 2 or 3 times I got out of the UFO field. But you want to tell you a little secret? You can't. There are people out there, and I'm one of them. It's not about money. God, I wish it was. We will be going out into the cosmos, visiting other solar systems, other planets outside of our own. But when we do this, it's going to be that we're going to have a spiritual heightening. In other words, we're going to have to care what happens to the other guy.
Clifford Stone, I'm very happy to be able to interview you here today. And there's a great deal of respect for what you've done and for your courage in coming forward and talking about it. And it's very exciting to actually get you on camera.
Thank you, ma'am.
And so we're here actually in a really amazing place. This is the Roswell UFO Museum. Do you mind telling us how you ended up in Roswell?
Well, the United States Army sent me here. I'm retired military.
Okay.
So as being retired military, you're always subject to recall.
Sure.
And you're always subject to possibly being asked things as a consultant.
Okay.
Well, I retired as a sergeant first class.
Now, was your title a clerk? I understand that was a cover story. Is this correct?
Well, you actually had a real life in the military. You had an actual mission. The only time that this other stuff came into play is when they had a UFO incident that was to occur, and you were in the immediate area of that. And I can tell you in '65 in Vietnam, there was a base camp there trying to open fire on a UFO. At the very minute they tried to do that, none of their weapons worked. All the electricity went out, and remained so until after the UFO left. And I can tell you, from being in Vietnam for 4 years, and yes, it was 4 years, the records reflect, I think, 37 months. But you add up the time of TDY that I was over there, it's right at 4 years. TDY being temporary duty. Not having a power on anything is very, very scary, and those are very, very tense moments.
As a communicator, you were called out just in terms of your military life. From what age did you start working in this capacity, would you say?
It was probably at about the age of 19 or 20.
Okay.
When it comes to people who do interfacing, there's no school for that. There are things that have went on in your life. When I got out, there were 7 people that was still in the military that did interfacing. Only 7. And that was military-wide. And I was put into an incident where we had a situation that we weren't told exactly where it was, but I know we landed at Benoit. Because when I went back there and was assigned, that's where we landed.
Benoit?
That's in Vietnam.
Oh.
And I know it was Benoit because it was the same when I went back. Now this was an incident that occurred.
Was it a crash? Or was it a visit?
We saw the entities.
Okay.
And this involved with us going in to try to extract an aircraft. And we did. We cut it up in, I think, about 7 pieces.
Okay, was it one of theirs?
No. This was a B-52.
Okay, so...
That didn't crash normal.
Is this a time travel experiment?
No. This was a craft that was shot down. Everybody was dead on board the B-52.
Shot down by the visitors?
Well, they were on a bombing mission over... I have no way of knowing this, but I would assume on a bombing mission over North Vietnam. The damage to the craft was as a result of anti-aircraft fire at the B-52. I mean, the damage was that type. And it was used for conventional bombing. and where I said we went in, we went from there by helicopter. But it was just like some giant hand had grabbed the plane out of midair and just set it on the jungle floor. And that's what we were interested in.
Oh.
We didn't know, you're not told. When we got on the plane in the States to leave to go over there, we were told we were going to Florida. When we landed in Oakland, we knew we weren't going to go to Florida. But then you went ahead, you was given a little plastic bag. You had to cut U.S. Army off, you had to cut your name tag off. One thing you never do is take your dog tags off. We took the dog tags off. Every item that could identify you went into that plastic bag. That was held for us there at Benoit, but that was held for us there until we came back. But after the event occurred, they put me in this GP medium tent. There was a table there was a chair, there was a pad, there was, I think, a couple pens, but I grabbed a pencil. And I was to sit there and just put down my thoughts.
Okay.
But anyhow, getting back to the tent, that's all that was there. I went ahead, went in, got bored, and I started to play games of tic-tac-toe. Went outside to smoke, took the paper with me, wadded it up, put it in my pocket. When they found that piece of paper, and remember, all it was on it was just little games of tic-tac-toe.
Right.
Immediately, the guy that I always called the Colonel was always there. He came and knocked the cigar out of my mouth and started to cuss at me profusely. What are you doing out here, and why do you have that? You can be shot for having that paper in your pocket. Why? It was classified waste. You didn't take paper in there. You took nothing in there. And everything that was in there was to stay there. So everything that I wrote was immediately put into a briefcase, was taken out of there by special courier. And even though I wrote it, I was no longer cleared to see it anymore. Now, did you write things sometimes that you didn't even know you wrote? Yeah, you did.
Oh.
Like I can tell you right now, everything that I read, I can have a greater understanding of some of the stuff I'm doing. Paul can tell you I do a whole lot of stuff as far as downloading. But you know what? I don't have to read every page. But I'll scan every page. Mm-hmm. And while I'm scanning, through me they can pick up on everything that's there. And it's all old news to them.
Sure.
But they find some things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll find some things that are bemusing to them. Because we're heading in the right direction, but we don't have the right I dotted. And if you know anything about mathematical formulas, we'll have things in reverse. But this right here sometimes scares you because you think, gee, is this a good, because you're being driven to do this.
So it's fascinating that, we don't think of Vietnam and during the war as being a time that we would be also dealing with off-world cultures.
You know why? They truly were told to call them helicopters. You were in a war zone, so what you do is you go in and put old Occam's razor in there, and you eliminate to the lowest denominator.